I am 22 years old. I think my religious girlfriend of 25 years is sexually manipulating me into marriage.
My GF, 25, and I, 22 meters, haven't had sex yet. Not with each other. Not with anyone. For religious reasons, she wants to remain a virgin until her honeymoon night. My initial reaction was like, sucks, but fair enough, her choice, let me see where this goes. For the record, my reason for being a virgin has nothing to do with any religion. I've just been too socially inept to make sufficient attempts to actually have sex. However, the one time I did man up and approach a girl, it happened to be the girl who had absolutely no plans to give it up until she met Mr. Right, which may or may not be me. That said, our relationship is now 1 year old and we're so in love it's borderline disgusting. We've low-key been discussing marriage, which she seems keen on, but I've made it clear I'm not on that level yet. Recently though, my GF and I have been living under the same roof. A first for us. She's staying with me while my roommate is out of town. We haven't seen much of each other because of the pandemic, so needless to say we were excited to spend time together. We would kiss and cuddle, even sleep in the same bed, but she never allowed anything beyond that. Whenever my hands gravitated towards her boobs or butt, she would become flustered and pull away. In those moments, my boner would visibly throb inside my pants and I could tell by the sneaky glances she liked it. As the days went by, she seemed to be doing everything in her power to trigger more boners. Changing clothes in front of me. Begging me to piggyback her to and from the shower while she's wearing nothing but a towel. Moaning whenever we made out. All stuff she's never done with me before. Worst of all was when she prayed at night. Hearing her pray was nothing new, but hearing her go into detail about her lustful thoughts was not only new, it was fucking hot. Pardon the pun, but it became really hard for me not to get turned on. Last night was no different. She was on her knees praying while I was laying in bed with another boner. As soon as she prayed about wanting to taste my cum, I got out of bed and took my raging boner to the bathroom, where I furiously masturbated. When I returned to the bedroom, my GF laughed and asked what happened to my hard-on. I wasn't laughing though. Call it post-nut clarity or whatever, but I told her that I feel like she's going out of her way to turn me on and it's unfair because it makes me wanna fuck and we can't. She shrugged and told me the only thing stopping us from fucking all day every day was a ring on her finger. If that wasn't savage enough, she got completely naked and climbed into bed, because she randomly felt like sleeping in the nude. I told her I wasn't gonna play this game anymore and spent the night on the couch. We have 1 more week left in the apartment before my roommate comes back. Would it be a dick move to ask my GF to leave sooner because I think she's being too sexy? Just because I'm the one having a hard time managing my sexual urges, does it give me the right to be upset at my GF for it? Update: my GF and I talked. She understood where I was coming from and apologized for creating such a sexually charged environment without the satisfaction, so to speak. In addition, she said that when I invited her to the apartment for some alone time, she felt like I was expecting something sexual, which is why she started behaving the way she did. It was her way of putting on a show for me. She admitted that none of her attempts to seduce me went as planned because she realized she had no idea what she was doing or how to finish what she started. According to her, whenever she noticed me getting turned on, she would panic and kind of just leave me to deal with the boners. The moment I mentioned her feelings towards marriage versus my feelings, she cried. I still wanted to comfort her, but she got too upset and told me she's going home. That was kind of where our conversation ended. It didn't matter what I said, she was done talking. She's been gone for an hour and she's not responded to any of my calls or messages. I'm alone in the apartment now. Not sure what to make of this night. Praying to taste your cum? Please. This is absolutely manipulation and I can almost guarantee that if you do marry her, it will be a sexless marriage. She's already using sex as leverage, and she'll probably enjoy control more than she'll ever enjoy sex. Tell her to knock it off with the cock teasing and be prepared to break it off with her if she gets defensive. This is ridiculous. You don't have to settle for this kind of treatment just because you feel like you're not good enough to afford to be choosy. It wouldn't be the best thing for your relationship. I think your suspicions are right. However, she could be doing it more for the excitement than to get a ring. It feels fucking fantastic to have an attractive man want you. She doesn't have experience, so she's probably feeling sexy and empowered. Sit down and talk to her about it. If she doesn't want to listen or doesn't change the way she's being, send her packing. Give it a chance though. If you're meant to be, this will be one of many serious discussions you'll have that ideally will improve your relationship. Yeah, sounds like manipulation to me. Moreover, none of my business, but really not a good idea to literally marry someone before you've even had sex with them. Like, what if it's not good? Maybe it's time for you to be as firm as her and tell her in clear terms that you're not even thinking about marriage before your relationship is more intimate. This is a really relevant concern, but the advice you're suggesting is kind of fucked up. Choosing to get into a relationship with a religious person who was upfront about no sex before marriage and then, a year in, saying, "I won't marry you unless you have sex with me first," is basically coercion. I used to be religious. People who are religious like that have no business getting into relationships with people who aren't religious. It's not fair to the non-religious person. The burden of blame is on the religious person because they're the one with the laundry list of rules and beliefs they have to follow. Sex is just one of the issues. Op needs to understand that if they get married, her beliefs are going to affect almost everything about his life, and if she's this emotionally unhealthy and manipulative now, the guilting and manipulation from her will just get worse. I think this is a compatibility issue. The fact that she's doing all these things to tease you, especially using her prayers in this way, makes me think this is now less about her religion stopping her from having sex and more about her getting off on manipulating you in general. This isn't cool, especially because she's using a crutch, her faith, to lean on as an excuse. This shows she will most likely be willing to use either sex or her religion as a way to manipulate you if you get married as well. You need higher standards. You don't need to wait for marriage to have sex. If she needs to wait for marriage, that's great. You don't have to date her. If you don't think you can find another woman that will sleep with you, the correct solution is to improve your social skills and work on yourself until you have more options. Not to accept crumbs that won't satisfy you. Don't sign up for a relationship without sex. Then complain that you're not getting sex. Make it a standard from the beginning that you will leave if you don't get your needs met, if you are unsatisfied. You know how you get a partner that satisfies you? You tell them what satisfies you, and leave if they don't. Let's get one thing clear. There is no sane reason here to get married to someone you haven't had sex with. Religion is not a sane reason. Sorry, not sorry. Marriage is a huge legal commitment, and all you need to do is take a glance at posts in our dead bedrooms to see the number of people who realized they weren't sexually compatible with each other. So sticking your head in the bag makes zero sense, considering divorce is not just traumatic, but expensive. With that out of the way, it's your life, do as you please. But what she's doing is indeed textbook manipulation. If I were you, I'd give her an ultimatum back. You don't wish to marry before 3 years in a relationship, which is fair enough. Her reaction to that will give you all the information you need. If she's truly okay with waiting, or she'll get angry and show it's just a way of getting you to commit and play by her rules. I'm 30 now, but back when I was in high school and shortly after I was with a girl I got engaged to. She used this type of manipulation. We would have gotten married, but after the relationship being a roller coaster for years, she broke up over text and moved on from me that very night. Life moves on. I found happiness with my now wife of 9 years, someone who doesn't do manipulation and is probably the best person I've ever met. Don't get tied down to someone who does manipulation or uses sex as a weapon. When that doesn't work, they might resort to other means to get their control over you, and it could turn bad. Good on you for using the post-nut clarity. It puts stuff in perspective and keeps you more level. Stay true to yourself. I don't know if anyone here made any comment or judgment after your update, edit. From the accounts that I've seen and read from other people who saved themselves for marriage, I would think she is also just as confused about her own feelings. I think she is also struggling with the urges and probably feels tremendous guilt for it due to her beliefs. She is probably also wrestling with not wanting to make you feel unsatisfied, like she is a bad GF. She probably isn't trying to intentionally manipulate you. It's more so, I want this too, but because of my beliefs I can't, so obviously that equals marriage to resolve her feelings. It just isn't that simple, cause as a previous comment said, the divorce would be far more expensive, not only financially but also emotionally. I think she has a lot of feelings she is battling and thoughts swarming her head. Her own urges, trying to be a good GF, trying to be a good believer. She might just need help working through those emotions, and I doubt there's anything malicious intentionally happening here. I doubt I'm the first person to bring this to the thread, but I wasn't about to swim through hundreds of comments. Lol edit. I've also read numerous accounts of people saving themselves and just end up regretting it for numerous reasons. Perhaps there just needs to be more introspection education done here. Do not marry anyone without having sex with them first. Do not marry anyone without living with them first. I don't mean for a few weeks either. It's fine she wants to abstain from penetrative sex. But she should be open to other forms of sex with you. Kissing and cuddling is for teenagers. If you think the keys to the sexual kingdom will be handed to you once you're married, you are in for a surprise. She's in control of your sex life or lack thereof now. It will get worse if you marry her. Just talk to her, dude. Like, maybe there are red flags here, maybe it's all perspective. Maybe she's really struggling with the line she's drawn in the sand and really wants to have sex with you, but is worried about the line she has drawn for herself. Absolutely don't get married just to have sex, but don't assume she is being consciously and maliciously manipulative. Smiley face. You know her better than the strangers on the internet, and perhaps she is knowingly being manipulative. I just wanna play devil's advocate to what some people are saying here. Maybe it works out, maybe it doesn't, but the most important thing you can do is communicate. Be very careful of getting your advice from Reddit, because without context you'll always have people telling you to leave her and you might miss out on a great relationship. That said, the best thing you can do is have a sit down with your GF and have a serious talk about it. It seems like you are trying to do everything in your power to be convenient to what she wants, but does she do the same? I feel like a compromise here would be important. A hand job wouldn't be sex, would it? Or at least you masturbating next to her? Try to see if you can talk things over with her. If she is unable to have a serious discussion about this, or if she's only willing to do it her way, are you sure you want to spend the rest of your life with that person? I also agree, please listen to what this person has to say. Because people will most likely always just say, leave her. But I don't think you should, at least not without talking to her about it. I feel like maybe talk to her about it, have a serious convo with her and see if you can figure things out. And again, please be careful taking advice from here, cause like I said, people will just tell you to leave the relationship. Talk to your significant other first and you decide with her if it's worth keeping the relationship. I am reading the update. IDK if this comment gets lost, but hear me out, bro. I am not too sure what to think now. First of all, don't do anything stupid. Stay calm. I know this is hard for you. Been there, but it will get better. Just go to bed, I guess. Anyway, she might be upset, but not responding to messages or calls is kinda rude. Being ignored hurts. I know this the most. I kinda think she knows that and tries to punish you by that. Assumptions from what I've read. The way she got upset, did not listen to you and left feels manipulative to me. Manipulative PPL tend to do this. Once you state your desires or demands, they will act victim and try to make you feel guilty. Do not feel guilty or bad about stating your needs. Now calm down, let her make the move. Do not apologize for trying to explain yourself. The ball is on her court. RN. Go to bed, clear your head. Honestly, who's to say this girl will even wanna have sex after marriage? Say you get married and you go to your wedding bed and she complains it hurts the first time and refuses to ever try again. Or just flat out decides she never wants sex. Maybe she just wants to manipulate you into marrying her so she can have someone take care of her or have access to your money, home, etc. She obviously doesn't want sex that bad, or she wouldn't let certain things happen. She's getting joy out of frustrating you and making you uncomfortable. What kind of relationship is that? What kind of partner wants to go out of their way to make the other person feel bad in any way? A very tiny percentage of guys are okay with waiting till marriage. She's probably just happy she found one she can toy with and won't go anywhere because you don't know better and haven't had any other relationship as comparison. You're young and have a lot of growing up to do. You need to really think about if this girl is right for you, or if you're just happy you caught a fish because you didn't think you had a chance. Sure, she's sexy and knows how to Google sexy words to say, but porn stars are sexy too. You can find thousands of pics and videos of sexy girls. I promise you there's a million other girls out there who wouldn't try this shit or make you feel trapped. I was a virgin till I was 23, my first BF was Catholic and refused to have sex and like fine whatever we were 16 but he was okay with me getting him off with a BJ or HJ but touching my pussy was not okay, go figure. I waited until I found someone I felt comfortable with and trusted and now I have a great loving relationship full of equal sex lol. Nothing wrong with that. You evidently can control your sexual urges because you're not having sex with her. Ultimately you've respected her boundaries there so if she can't respect your boundaries, no intentionally trying to get you horny when she damn well knows she isn't up for it. You're entitled to not be in a constant state of blue balls in your own home. The age difference and your general lack of social confidence makes the whole thing feel just that bit sinister and predatory, especially with the comment about a ring. I will say that your girlfriend is perfectly allowed to be upset over it, but you have to ask yourself, do I want to spend the rest of my life with someone who gets upset when I express and enforce a boundary? Most of the people I know who do that are bullies. Personally, I wouldn't be interested in marrying someone without having slept with them, but that's because if I get married I want it to be with someone where there are no secrets and unknowns between us. I want to have trusted them with everything and for them to trust me with everything. Ideally, the only mystery then will be the future, which we can both face with someone we trust at our sides. God, even when I was a Christian the first had a veto hard time not having sex and I was a teenager who didn't need to be having sex at all lol. My BF was a Christian and it was 8 months before we had sex but we did stuff before that. After I did have sex and realized how great it was I decided I don't know why God would even care if we did it. Like YTF does he care if we do something that feels good and isn't hurting anybody? And well, I'm not a Christian anymore. I actually left the church after that. I don't want to seem mean but if your GF can withstand all that and still not have sex with you then she probably doesn't even really wanna have sex. She just likes manipulating you and see you go crazy over sex with her. She most likely would barely even fuck you after you are married. I'd be leery in even marrying her at all. If you wanna see how it works out for people who wait for marriage, go to our Dead Bedrooms. Hasn't worked out great for a lot of people. You should find someone who is on the same page as you. You can't marry this girl just so y'all can fuck and she can continue to manipulate you sexually and in other ways. Saying the only thing standing in the way is a ring on her finger is completely fucked up. Either she really believes this shit and trust me her religion will fuck up your relationship after you do get married or she is just a manipulative cock tease. And make no mistake about it, she likes teasing you and seeing you go crazy. Rule of thumb: a poor sex life when you're dating does not improve after you're married. Even pretty good sex lives tend to cool down a lot. The only people I know who see improvement are people who are into wilder stuff like swinging and BDSM that it takes years to explore. Speaking of BDSM, did anybody else think her behavior sounds some sort of denial or domination games? If you turn up the sexual volume on this, it eventually turns into real lick my boot stuff. The only remote chance of a win is if you want to be some sort of a submissive slave, and that seems a pretty far-fetched outcome. I'm just an old married guy on the other side of the internet, but I'd say keep wife shopping and write this one off as a defective model. I hate this shit. Yes, this is manipulation. I used to be a part of this conservative ideology and it has absolutely no biblical backing. Not having sex before marriage was more of a way to ensure that your daughter was worth something when you married her off. If she was a virgin you would get paid, if not, then she's worthless. People also got married much younger back then and not at the age people get married today. Sex after marriage back then also was a good way of preventing STDs that they didn't have treatments for. Now, it really is just another tool by the church to control women's sexualities. They tell you you'll go to hell and that no man will want you if you have sex before marriage. This is bullshit and is super toxic. Dump her. She's manipulating you and it's not cool. I grew up in one of those religions, didn't get my head straight till I was finally able to walk away from it in my early 20s. That stuff really messes with your head and it sounds like it's messed with hers. How I see it, she likes feeling sexy but is not motivated by sex. She's wielding your desires against you, dominatrix style. If you were into that sort of thing she'd be a prime candidate for visiting, but I can't imagine marrying that. It shows a lack of respect for your feelings and while your situation might be blissful now, I can see it causing huge issues down the road. I'm gonna be honest, if I had somehow got myself into this situation, which I wouldn't have, I would have noped right out at using prayer as an excuse to describe her lustful thoughts to you. Aside from it being a plus top shelf creepy towards you to involve a god so directly in your sex life, it's also presumably pretty disrespectful towards the god, religion involved. I mean, I dunno, maybe she's in a Dionysian cult or something, but it seems unlikely. Super unpopular opinion, I can see how she might not be intentionally manipulating you here. In a lot of cases, women find teasing without going all the way to be quite pleasurable, and she might be genuinely enjoying what she sees as fun makeout sessions without realizing how frustrating it is for you. She might think hinting about wanting marriage is normal playful banter for couples, if she's internalized some of the weird messages she likely got from her family, church. But this would be a deal breaker for me. It would have been a long time ago. If she wants to wait, that's her choice, but it seems like that usually works out best when both people genuinely want to wait, for themselves. I hope you get to read this before it gets buried, but sorry I have to take this angle on it, but for me it's more than how the teasing and sex make you feel. I'm not sure if you're religious or not, it sort of doesn't sound like it. But regardless, the huge red flag for me is if she holds her beliefs very dearly, then her religion is more important than you or you feelings. She always will, and she will use it against you forever in every situation. You cannot win against that. You'll always be wrong, and she will always have a superior power she answers to, where she can justify anything she does in life. I'm not judging her, or saying she's a bad person, or saying religion is bad or anything. I'm just stating the situation you'll be in. Maybe it could work. Sure, two people committed to each other can work around just about anything. But you have to compare your belief system to hers and decide if it's compatible. I know this wasn't a religion question, but that's the bottom line and what you're up against. But yeah, there is a little manipulation. It doesn't sound intentional or malicious, but she has priorities. I mean, she has a right to her beliefs, so you have to accept it if you want to be with her. But you have feelings too. Tough situation. She sounds manipulative. Not to mention, a supposedly super religious girl, praying to God about super specific lewd thoughts while trying to turn on her boyfriend? Isn't that kinda blasphemous? Don't take the Lord's name in vain, or whatever. Admittedly, I'm a spiritual person, not a religious one, but addressing God with an ulterior motive of seducing someone would leave a terrible taste in my mouth. It makes me question if respect for God is truly her motivation for abstaining from sex. Also, frankly, are you sure you want to be with someone that weirdly religious and repressed anyway? There are tons of normal girls out there who also enjoy sex outside of marriage. You say this was the first girl you ever manned up enough to approach. And she said yes, so you're 1 for 1. That's a good record. Know that you have options. You don't have to stay with this one just because you want to have sex with her. Your update doesn't help make things much better. The leaving without finishing the conversation and refusing to answer calls still reads as manipulative to me. You are only 22. That is not as late of a bloomer as you may think. I know a lot of people around your age that are still virgins, haven't had serious relationships, etc. Marriage is expensive. Divorce is even more expensive. Do not do it until you are 100%. You can commit yourself to her without the marriage. If you really wanted to meet her halfway, you could do a ceremony in her church with a priest without doing the legal paperwork. But even then, you've only been together a year, and a divorce is probably even worse in her mind than premarital sex, based on my experience with religion. You don't have to run away screaming, but keep this in the back of your head. I'm agnostic after trying my best to be a Christian for a while. Like, am I crazy? Praying to God about how much she wants to taste your cum? That's most likely motivated not by being honest to God, but to mess with you. That's really messed up from a Christian emo. Like, she should ask God for forgiveness for using him in that way, and obviously, repent for messing with you as well. If she doesn't have any problems avoiding sex at this point, I have a feeling you're headed for a pretty sexless marriage if you do marry her. She should be struggling too. But I think she's just not that high driven for sex. I think this is what I would call the prime example of manipulation. She has some sort of conflict with herself, which makes sense because religious upbringing and feeling bad for having lustful thoughts, or whatever, but those are her issues and not yours. She is 100% manipulating you into putting a ring on it, probably because she feels bad for her thoughts or whatever. Anyway, that is a massive red flag and I honestly would get out of this relationship. I know it's probably hard, no pun intended, because you love her, but you have to look at this somewhat objectively. If she is willing to manipulate you into marriage with sex, what else is she going to do to manipulate you? It says something about how she views you and probably other men as well. She thinks she can actually get you to do what she wants by using sex as a weapon. That's disgusting.
Thank you for watching. And if you are new, subscribe and hit the bell icon. Don't forget to like and comment. That will help us continue.